of you in the another session of transportation engineering. So, since first lecture, we were discussing about the first and second segment that were about introduction and highway transportation. Now we are moving towards the another part of transportation engineering syllabus, and that particular thing is called as railway transportation or rail transportation. So we are going to learn rail transportation. So pay attention. This is the segment number 3 and we are going to discuss about rail transportation, so stay attentive. What we are going to cover in this particular topic is we are going to cover the role of railways, the basic requirements of track alignment and railway sleepers. These are the things that we are going to cover. So let us learn first of all, let us learn the role of Indian Railways in national development. I had already covered what are the important criteria for railway transportation, and we have already seen, we have already learned the comparative analysis of various transportation such as rail transportation, road transportation, highway transportation, air transportation, water transportation, etc. So in this particular segment, what we are going to do is we are going to cover, we are going to focus on the important elements of railway, how they are constructed, what are their issues and what are their importance. So first is about the role of Indian Railways in national development. Let us learn about that. Okay, the first thing is about the social advantages. There are certain social advantages such as due to the usage of rail transportation, the social outlook of the masses has broadened because whenever we book tickets of railways or railway or whenever we take the journey by trains, we are not aware that what kind of person is going to have sit beside us, who is the person, who is, what is the caste of that person which is going to, who is going to sit beside us. So the disappearance of caste differences is there, the isolation feeling is removed because you cannot travel in the whole compartment lonely. Number of people, number of persons are there. It is easy to reach at the religious places and the provision of convenient and safe mode of transportation is there. So these are certain social advantages of Indian Railways. If we are to discuss about economic advantages, then the economic advantages cover various criteria, various points such as provision of employment to millions of people, because we have already learned that Indian Railways carry very huge amount of traffic, and due to huge amount of traffic, huge amount of people, huge amount of employment or staff is required. It provides speedy distribution of finished products. Due to railways, the commercial farming encouragement is there, mobility is increased, land values is also increased. Land values also increased. See, Ahmedabad to Mumbai bullet train is going to constructed. So the stretch where the particular bullet train will take its way, the land value of that particular stretch will be increased like anything. And due to railways, the emergency transportation is also made easy and convenient. So these are the economic advantages. And then we have to discuss about political advantages, such as due to railways, various caste of people are united, various religious people are united, various traditions are united while traveling. It is having the key role in the emergency situation whenever we are transporting the troops or equipment. It helps maintaining better law and order in the country, and it helps maintaining the national integration of the country. So these are the social, economic and political advantages. Somehow these advantages are similar to highway transportation. So you don't have to mug up these things, you just have to stay attentive. Now let us learn about track alignment. Say you have learned about highway alignment, the position of center line, on the road, on the highway, on the ground is known as highway alignment. So somewhat it is similar to this, that the direction and position of the center line of the railway track on the ground. See, direction and position of what? Center line of railway track on the ground is called as track alignment. Two types of alignments are there: horizontal alignments such as straight path, curves, horizontal deviations, and vertical alignments that cover vertical curves, vertical gradients, etc. Now the next thing about is about the basic requirements of an ideal alignment. So these are the basic requirements that we are going to learn in detail. First is the purpose of new railway line. Second is integrated development. Third is about economic consideration. Fourth is about the maximum safety and comfort. And fifth is about the aesthetic consideration. So these are the basic requirements. We'll learn each one of them one by one. First is about the purpose of new railway line. See, whenever a new railway line is constructed, it should serve the basic purpose for which it is going to be constructed. The purpose may be variable such as strategic consideration, political consideration, development of backward areas, connecting new trade centers and shortening the existing rail lines. These are many purposes for which the new railway line may be constructed. So this is the first thing. Then comes the integrated development. It should fit with the general planning and it should form the part of integrated development of the country. Then comes the economic consideration, that is one of the most important thing, and it covers the alignment should be shortest, it should be safest, it should be economical, it should be minimum operational expenses. So the cost should be low. Then the another part that I would like to cover is permanent way. See, what is permanent way? So in case of railways, in case of railways, the permanent way means it is the combination of rails, sleepers, ballast, fixtures, and fastenings. We are going to learn all these things in detail, don't worry. The track on a railway, that particular railway track on which we are traveling, it is also known as permanent way. It is the structure which is having various kind of elements. The purpose of this permanent way is what? The purpose is to provide permanent facility for safety and quick movement of normal and commercial traffic. And usually, permanent way cost nearly 40% of the total investment to the railways. So this is about the permanent way. That permanent way means it is the railway track itself and it is the combination of various railway elements such as rails, sleepers, ballast, fixtures, fastening, etc. The rails are the member of the track. Rails, we all know what is rail, on which the wheels of the particular railway are moving. Rails are the member of the track which are laid in two parallel lines to provide an unchanging, continuous and level surface for the movement of trains. Rails are provided for unchanging, continuous and level surface of movement of the trains. And we all know that trains are very heavy in the weight. So to able that particular stress on the wheels, they are made up of high carbon steel. So this is about rails. Now let us learn about the functions of the rail. First it is that it should be continuous and level surface. It should be smooth. It should have little friction. It should serve as the lateral guide for the wheels. It should bear the stress which is developed through the vertical loads on the rails. It should carry out the function of transmitting the load to the larger area to the formation level. The selection of this particular rail should be such that the load of the wheels is transferred to the sleepers. I will show what sleeper actually is. Then the section of the rail should be able to withstand the lateral force. The underside of the head and top of the foot of the railway section should be such a slope that fits easily. The center of gravity of the rail section should preferably be coincide with the center of height of the rail. So maximum tensile and compressive stress should be nearly equal. the head part of the rail should be sufficiently thick so that there is adequate margin of the vertical wear, and it should safely bear the vertical load without buckling. You all have learned what is buckling. So, what we have covered is it should be continuous, it should be of level surface, it should be smooth, should have little friction, it should provide lateral guide to the wheels. What is rail? They are the parallel lines which are provided on the track in order to provide unchanging, continuous and level surface for the movement of trains. It should carry out the function of transmitting the loads. The load should be carried out easily. The head part should be sufficiently thick. So these are the functions of rail. Now, if we discuss about the requirements of the rail, then the foot rail should have sufficient bearing area. The surface for the rail table and gauge should be sufficiently hard, and the contact area between the rail and the wheel should be as large as possible so that the contact stresses should be reduced. These are the technical points, and I hope you are easily understanding these things. The surface for the rail table and gauge should have sufficiently hard, and these are the requirements. Then certain other requirements are that the composition of the steel should be adequate to the specification. The overall height of the rail should be adequate that provides sufficient stiffness. The foot of the rail should be wide enough so that the rail is stable against overturning. The stiffness of the rail depends upon the moment of inertia. We all have learned in the structural part. So the economical design should be provided so that it should provide a maximum moment of inertia with regards to other factors. So these are the basic requirements of ideal rails. Now we are discussing about various types of rail, in which the first type is about the double-headed rail. This is how double-headed rails looks like. See, these are the rails which were used in the beginning in 1853. The idea behind using these rails was that when the head was worn out in the course of time, the rail can be inverted and reused. So you can see that it is double-headed. The heads are provided two of the sides. You can see, observe over here in the figure that there are two heads. But at the time past, the indentations were formed in the lower table, due to which the smooth running over the surface of the top was impossible. So there were certain changes, and then the bull-headed drill, like this, where the head part was quite thicker, was formed. In this type of rail, the head was made a little thicker as compared to the lower part, so that it can withstand more amount of stress. Then comes the flat-footed rail. It is having the components like this: head, web, and foot. These rails are also called as Vignol's rails. Initially, these rails were fixed to the sleepers directly. See, these are the tracks, and uh, on the tracks, behind the tracks, the sleepers are there. They are provided. I will show in the figure. Initially, the flat-footed rails were fixed to the sleepers directly, and no chairs and keys were provided. But later on, due to heavy train loads, which can lead towards the steel bearing plates between the sleeper and the rail joints and other important points are commonly fixed, and these are the most common parts which are being used in India. This is how they are looks like. They look like this: flat-footed, double-headed, and bull-headed. These are the types of rail. You can see that the flat-footed has the base of flat, double-headed is having two kind of headed, and bull-headed having thicker part at the thicker head at the upper part, and uh, lower thickness at the lower part, at the foot part. So these are the dimensions. This is how you can remember these things. These are about the rails. These are the rails on which the wheels are traveling, are moving. Now let us discuss about sleepers and ballast, in which we are going to discuss about the part of sleepers. So these are the sleepers, or railway sleeper is written over here. These are the rails, flat-footed, bull-headed, double-headed, and these are the railway sleepers. And the aggregates that you are going to, you are observing over here are called as track ballast or ballast. We are going to discuss about the railway sleepers. They are like this. This is the cross section. This is the subbase part. Then comes the ballast. Then comes the sleepers, and then comes the rail on which the wheels are moving. Observe. It looks like this. If we discuss about the definition, then the sleepers are used as the base for laying the railway tracks. The tracks are laying over the sleepers. They are the transverse elements on the direction of the rails. They were traditionally made from the woods, but nowadays they are made up of concrete or any kind of material. New kind of materials are there. Sleepers are laid on the top of the sand, gravel or heavy crushed stone, and those stones, the mixture of the sand, gravel, and heavy crushed stone is known as ballast. Sleepers, I have already described that these are the members which are laid transverse to the direction of rails, on which the rails are supported. They are fixed on the ballast and the subgrade below. The functions of sleepers, why we need sleepers to place over the ballast. So they help to hold the rails on the correct gauge. They act as an elastic medium between the ballast and rail and absorb the blows and vibrations. They are provided to distribute the load from the rails to the index area of the ballast. See, these are the rails. These are the rails. This is one of the rails, and this is the sleeper. What it will do is, when the load is acting over here, it will distribute the load to the ballast part. They are used to support the rails at the proper level on the straight tracks and at the super elevation on the curves. They also provide longitudinal and lateral stability. See, requirements of sleeper, how sleeper should be, how the sleeper should be, what are the requirements of sleeper. So let me tell you that an ideal sleeper should possess the following characteristic. It should be economical, it should be fit, the fitting of the particular sleeper should be easily adjustable. The lifting, the packing, the removal and the replacements should be easy. The weight of the sleeper should not be too heavy or excessive light. The design of sleeper should be such a way that the gauge and alignment of the track and levels rail can be easily adjusted. The design and spacing should be such a way that it should facilitate the easy removal and replacement of the ballast. So it should be easy to lift, easy to pack, easy to remove, easy to replace. The bearing area of the slipper below the rail seat and over the ballast should be enough to resist the crushing due to the rail seat and crushing of the ballast below the slipper. It should be capable of resisting the shocks and vibration. It should not be damaged during the packing process. Packing means fixing the sleepers. It should be anti-theft. It should be of anti-theft qualities. And the design should be so enough that they are not pushed out easily. Due to the when the rail is moving, it is not like that when the rail is moving and sleepers get detached from their places. Otherwise, major calamities can take place. There are three types of sleepers majorly: wooden sleeper, iron sleepers, and concrete sleeper. Iron sleepers can be divided into two categories: steel sleepers and uh, cast iron sleepers, and the concrete sleepers can be divided into two parts: RCC sleepers and pre-stressed sleepers. First is about the wooden sleeper. See, they are one of the best and they fulfill all the requirements that I have described. But the life of timber, as we are using wood, so the life of wood or timber depends upon the ability to resist the wear, decay, attack of the vermin and quality of the timber. It is easily available. The fitting is also simple in design. It can resist shocks and vibrations. It is difficult to maintain the gauge in case of wooden slipper. That is the minus point. And the service life is minimum 12 to 15 years. The maintenance cost is quite high because we all know that wooden element requires higher maintenance cost as compared to other sleepers. Then comes the composite sleeper index CSI. It is this particular index, it is used to determine the suitability of the timber, if the timber can be used as a sleeper or not. It measures the mechanical strength of the timber and it is derived from the composite properties. The equation of CSI is S plus 10H by 20, where the S stands for strength of index and H stands for hardness index. Strength index both for green and dry timber is measured at 12% moisture content and hardness is also measured at 12% moisture index. The minimum value of this CSI, if it should be used as sleeper, the minimum value of CSI is 783, 1352 and 1455 for track, crossing and bridge respectively. Means if you want to use this timber for track, then the minimum CSI value should be 783. If we want to use the timber for crossings, the minimum value of CSI should be 1352. And if you want to use this as the bridge component, it should be 145. Then comes the treatment. Treatment is used to increase the life of timber up to 30 to 50 percentage because there are chances that it can get deteriorated. Now let us discuss about metal slipper. Metal slippers are made up of any metals, but majorly they are used. The metal that are being used are steel and cast iron, and mostly cast iron is used because it is less prone to the corrosion. What are the requirements for using this particular slippers? It should be capable of tensile and compression stress because this is about the metal, such as slipper, then box slipper, cast standard trial slipper. These are the examples. Then another part is about steel slipper. That is also one of the components of metal slippers. It looks like this. So the features of steel slippers is that the life of slipper is much more higher than wooden slipper because we all know the steel is quite durable as compared to wood. The cost is comparatively more, that is the minus point, but the life is also more. The fastening of the slipper is less in number and simple in nature. They can be easily adjusted and maintained. Then comes the concrete slipper. There are two types, RCC and pre-stress. Concrete material is also called as ideal slipper. Majorly nowadays concrete slipper is used because that is homogeneous material, that is impervious to the effect of moisture. Then it is less affected by chemical effect and it is easy to mold in the required shape. These are the wooden slippers. These are the pre-stressed concrete slippers. These are the RCC slippers, and this is about the anchors. So this was all about particular slipper that we have learned. I hope you have gone through the concept thoroughly. Thank you so much.